Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather, now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
CineSmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. This is CineSmack. And the winner is...
Hello, CineSmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 121 of CineSmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, writer, actor, and director Kyle. Let's put the women and children to bed and go looking for dinner. Fine.
You know, don't you understand how much I want this podcast to succeed? Don't you understand how much I want this podcast to be good? But damn it, the best thing about this podcast is 2 hours and I don't ever have to do it again.
Second, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions. Gabriel, you get 400 for just spelling your name correctly.
Yeah, spell it, Mike. Spell it.
Third, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films. Tom, hit the tight end so hard his girlfriend dies. Haggis.
I was trying to think of a funny line from one of these movies, but there weren't any.
Man.
Fourth, filmmaker... Can you tell who picked these? Fourth, filmmaker and owner of Arizona Ink Studios. Andrew, you cannot win half-assed Zumwalt.
Let's open up a can of kick-ass and kill him and let the paramedics sort it out.
All right. Let's poke the buggy. Find out what we're discussing this month.
Ladies and gentlemen, first stringers and bench warmers, welcome to the main event. Tonight, two 90s collegiate tales will take to the field to see who will sink the game-winning shot and who will be carried off in a stretcher. In the first corner, from 1994, written by Ron Shelton, directed by William Friedkin, starring Nick Nolte, Mary McDonough, and J.T. Walsh. Blue Cheer! In the second corner, from 1993, written by David S. Ward and Aaron Latham, directed by David S. Ward, starring James Caan, Halle Berry, and Omar Epps. The program.
This is the first time watching these movies. I am not a sports ball movie fan unless it deals with baseball or hockey. So, kind of like Necessary Roughness and Replacements. But these two movies were never really on my radar.
So just much of the major sports.
Yeah, just the major sports.
Oh, okay.
And I liked basketball. Does that count?
Right. So you're a big sports ball movie fan.
Apparently I'm a giant sports ball movie fan. I just never wanted to watch these two movies until this month. So without further ado, let's start it off with writing.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I had never seen either of these movies. I think Blue Chips was on TV or something recently, which doesn't surprise me, though, because of the NCAA tournament. So I did catch the part where Nick Nolte comes in at the beginning and is ranting and raving in the locker room. I caught some of that, but I think I probably turned it pretty quickly after that. That being said, I was actually happily surprised with these. I'm with you, Mike. I find a lot of the kind of, as you put it, sports ball movies kind of a little bit repetitive. You know, it's always the same trope. You know, the team down on a luck comes back and wins at the last second kind of thing. You know, they overcome their personal demons on the field and that kind of thing. And so I wasn't too excited about it, but I actually enjoyed them both a little bit more than I expected. And from a writing perspective, I think they were a little bit different from those kind of stereotypical sports ball type movies as well, to a certain degree, because Blue Chips, the subject was a little bit different as far as the NCAA rules and whether or not they should be, you know. Okay, so these
I'm gonna
fuckers.
let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish.
Oh wait.
Finish.
Let me
But
talk
these
about
were-
you fuckers.
these were cookie
You
cutter.
are, like, giving me signals over video. I'm turning video off. I don't want to do video because you assholes are over here like saying no, not listening to
I
what I'm
agree
saying,
with
not
you,
letting
Gabe.
me finish.
I'm gonna let you finish.
What a bunch
I
of
agree
assholes.
with you, Gabe.
Okay, so it had to do more with the NCAA rules and that kind of stuff. This is even better. This is great. Okay, so you guys tell me what I should know about writing. Go.
Okay. I'll jump in and save you, Gabe, because I agree with you. These movies are about subjects. Well, one of these movies are about subjects that are not typically handled in your sports ball movie genre. Specifically Blue Chips, which is a lot about recruiting violations, cheating, lying, stealing your way to win games, and point shaving, which is something I learned from this movie like 11 years ago. I learned about point shaving, whatever the hell that is. And so I agree with you here. Now, a little full disclosure, I was the one who chose these two movies to talk about, so all the hate should flow towards me. So you can leave Gabe alone, just flow all that hate towards me. These are two movies I have easily seen 20 times apiece. No joke. Multiple times. I owned both of them on VHS and DVD. So whether you think that means I have terrible taste in movies is debatable. But yes, I agree with Gabe on that they tackle something that is very rarely seen in sports movies. That being said, the journey of the people through the movies, especially in the football movie, is very much what you expect. It's people overcoming adversity to have a positive outcome. But the program has a lot of collateral damage where people get broken throughout the movie and you don't know if they'll ever recover. They leave that open to you, like to interpret what they will be in the future. That being said, neither of these movies is well written. And I gotta say that it'd probably be difficult for me to pick in this category just because I'm not enthused by either of them.
What about that dialogue that Andrew was quoting at the beginning?
So I think Nick Nolte, and we can get more into acting, but I think Nick Nolte is one guy who showed up and was like, I got my acting boots on. I'll do this. It may, whether you think it's good or not, I'm just going to fucking scream it out. And I'm going to give this like 75% of my acting ability. And I think that's severely lacking in the program where James Caan looks like he's on the set of an Adam Sandler movie where he's just on vacation in Hawaii. And it's like, I don't give a shit that I'm here. I don't care that anything's happening. I just cash these checks and I make faces every once in a while and I move my hands a bit. and like that's
he didn't
about
have
it.
the same passion. That's for
Oh
sure.
my God!
But
See
anyway,
that's funny, and maybe because we're not talking about writing very much. These movies played a big part in my childhood upbringing, especially because I played high school football, and the program was almost mythological among high school football players as like the greatest football movie ever. And I got to tell you, I don't want to give away any secrets. I played football for 4 years. The program is 100% accurate. That is exactly how all of us acted. That's exactly what all of us did. That's really what practice was like. All of that. Completely perfect. So, yeah.
So did the naysayers have?
It is, one of the. I mean, that's what it was like. But I mean, things have changed a lot since these two movies came out. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, that was a joke. My high school football was nothing like this at all.
I thought
we
you
were a
being
bunch of
serious.
pussies, and we just thought that this movie was so cool, and we thought all these things would be so great to do, and none of us ever did them because nobody really does these things. Just maybe a few idiots every year that you hear about on the news do shit like this.
And then how much of that stuff would actually be like an on-field violation or anything anymore? I was like, that's a penalty. You can't do that.
Oh yeah,
That's
they've cleaned the game up a lot. Yeah, they've cleaned the game up a lot since then. You can tell this is a 90s football movie because everybody's got real baggy jerseys. That's like the first thing I notice in 90s sports movies is how baggy the jerseys are.
Yeah, giant shoulder pads.
The dude's wearing a midriff playing the game. I was like, no.
Oh, I know.
No.
Yeah.
And then Mac was just like bouncing all over the defensive line. And just like, you can't do that, dude. You got to sit still. I know you want to come up with some cute insult, but you can't. You can't do that. You can't just be like bouncing from foot to foot and being like, "You put sugar in my gas can." Like,
yeah, he's supremely talented because where he's positioned doesn't seem to matter to his ability to play defense.
Yeah, he just goes to the ball.
And not only that, but there was a couple of times where like they grabbed each other's face masks and like
ripped the guy's helmet off.
Yeah, he hit the guy in the head and tore his helmet off the guy's head. I was like, nope.
That's like a moment you dream of as a high school football player. Like, I want to take someone's helmet off. And of course, none of that ever happens. But can we talk about the best written scene in all of these movies, which is the two men spitting in each other's mouths move?
God.
Isn't that great? I got
especially
an audible from a
during
person
a
sitting next to
pandemic.
me on
That's
the couch.
especially cringy.
Yeah, I got an audible signal of disgust from Heather watching this. And I was like, oh, yeah, we used to do that all the time. We did that all the time in practice and football. We do that before games. And she was convinced I was telling the truth. So for a while, she thought I was a freak.
Wait, you're not?
Hey, so the whole time I was watching this, I was wondering, where's the highway scene that they pulled out? I have no idea how that would have worked into this movie.
I have trivia.
Boy,
for that,
it really doesn't. Yeah, the program was notorious for one scene they posted of some kids, well, the quarterback and then some other players following him as he lays down on the lane divider between lanes on the highway, and a couple kids imitated it, and one of them died, and I think another one got seriously hurt. It happened a couple times. People imitated it, so they pulled it. You can find it on YouTube, by the way. The deleted
them
scene.
getting hit?
Spoiler!
Ew.
No. The deleted scene from the movie is on YouTube.
Sure.
My writing comment, because we only have like 4.5 minutes left in this round, is
4:15.
Sure. Typical 90s sports movies. I chuckled a couple of times. Abraham Ben Ruby, I thought was hilarious. Most of his lines, I just think he's funny. Typical sports 90s movies.
Okay, you guys have anything to add to writing?
Can't argue that. Really. No. Yeah. But
I mean, they
think
even had the '90s thing at the end where it's like, and Butch and so dropped out of school. This guy got a car. It's like,
Right.
come on!
I love when they do that in fictional
they
movies.
went into the NBA.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
What is the point of that in a fictional movie? For God's sake!
Well, sometimes
Revenge of the Nerds did it, so
like,
you know.
We don't know how to finish this. We don't know how to conclude this movie, so we're gonna.
And it's very much almost that '80s movie ending where everybody's happy, and then they but it kind of built out into the '90s where they kind of did this whole thing where they would be walking out of class or just an everyday, and then they freeze it, and they're like, Butch and Randy did such and such, and then they'll cut to another, and they maybe have one line of dialogue, and then they're like, oh, and Johnny went to the end. It's like, oh my God.
It's, that's one of like my biggest complaint with the program is that these guys, all of the shit that they did, there's just like no consequences at all for what they did. I mean, they did a bunch of stupid shit and they still won and everything's okay. And it's like, that's not what real life is like. The other, also, like, have you ever seen someone go 6-6 and then get covered on Sports Illustrated as the Heisman frontrunner?
Right.
Like who?
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore.
And who?
No, you have to, you have 1 or 2 losses if you want to be on Sports Illustrated for the preseason.
And
did they
by the way,
even say who won the Heisman?
No, they didn't do a
no.
graphics to say who won.
I want to know who did the research to find out that you can actually stick a hose up your hole and replace the urine from your inside your bladder with clean urine.
I'd be surprised if that comes from a real incident.
That's what I'm saying. Who figured? Because I would have never have even dreamed of thought or done. And what the actual F?
I think the kids were planning on doing that after laying down in the highway. So they're just going to make a night of it. And then they're going to go play tennis.
So say one thing that definitely goes into the writing of this movie. Screenwriters, when you are writing your fictional sports teams, maybe don't stop at your first ideas. Western University Dolphins and the Eastern State University Wolfpack. Western University and Eastern State. Yeah, Jesus. That's lazy as shit, man.
Here's the thing.
In the program, they played Iowa.
They did. They played real teams.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, look, Iowa.
Have to. So the thing is, though, they have to pick a color and a mascot and the name of a school that can't be remotely associated in any way. They can't, like, they did yellow and black and they were called the Hawks. Suddenly everybody's like, "Ooh, is it Iowa?" So they had to that's why their combinations of colors and names and mascots are so effed up.
They went online and they found a generator that said, fill in the color that you like best, name north, south, east, or west, name if you're a college or a university or you're just and it automatically generated
It's just like the old video game Super High Impact.
His daughter.
Yes, these are the first.
Susie, pick an animal. Dolphins.
Unicorns. No, it can't be unicorns.
Pick a direction, Susie. Up. Okay, pick a different direction, Susie.
It's so fluffy.
Just real quick, Kyle making the joke that playing high school football was just like the program is like a bouncer saying that Roadhouse is exactly like being a bouncer.
Yes. The program is at least for me and the people around me, it's what we wanted high school football to be.
Right.
And it was so far away from what high school football actually was, but we still idolized it. Like, we loved that movie. And watching it back now, these years later, even though I've seen it a million times, kind of surprised by how little actual football happens and how much they delve into the 30 plot lines that are involved in all these other people.
Yes.
But yeah, the part at the end where they give away what happens to fictional people in Blue Chips, I think is funny. Because why do you do that in a fictional movie? I don't understand.
All right, let's
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. That's right.
Roadhouse.
Like, everyone's like, "Oh, it must be like Roadhouse." No, you stand there and stare at people. Like, that's pretty much it.
You never.
Sometimes you burn a kid with a cigarette and get in trouble.
You never came out to Billy Joe's while I was bouncing.
Gabe, what do you vote?
I think I'm going to go with Blue Chips on this one.
All right. Kyle.
For authentically capturing the high school football experience, I will go with The Program.
Andrew.
Saturday Night Lights.
That's Friday Night Lights.
That's the wrong movie.
Yeah.
We play football on Fridays, Andrew.
The Program, I guess.
Okay. And Tom. You're muted, Tom.
Blue Chips.
Okay.
Blue Chips.
The Program made me
Right
laugh.
down the middle.
Kingpin is another sports ball movie that I like.
Oh,
So you like
If you
you
call
like
bowling
sports
a sport.
movies. You like sports movies that aren't sports movies.
Yes. Blue Chips is said
Did you
to be-
like Hoosiers? Did you like Hoosiers?
No, I hate Hoosiers. Like,
Okay, yeah, that's what it is. You like sports movies that aren't sports movies.
Yeah.
All right. Happy Gilmore?
yep.
Yeah.
Okay, got it figured out.
Moneyball.
That's a sports movie.
Moneyball. Love Moneyball.
Moneyball is kind of a sports movie.
It is
I guess.
my
It's
absolute
kind of
favorite sports movie. Yeah.
See, I think Moneyball.
A League of Their
is-
Own.
I love A League of Their Own.
That's a sports movie. Booyah!
Mr. Baseball.
See,
So you
Major
like
League.
most sports movies?
Balls of Fury.
Mike
Oh,
just
my
likes
God.
going through and making sure none of us can make recommendations at the end.
Yeah.
Beer Fest.
Right.
Tin
That's a
Cup.
sports movie.
Yeah.
Just all right. Blue Chips is said to be based on the career of Tates Locke, a coach at Clemson University from 1970 to 1975, as told in the 1982 Sports Illustrated expose. Bobby Collins' name came from former head coach at Southern Methodist University. Coincidentally, he was the coach during the time SMU's football program was brought down by severe NCAA sanctions that led to the, quote, death penalty. That's all I could find about writing for either of these movies. So the
Death
fact
penalty meaning like
Yeah.
They couldn't have a football program for an extended period of time.
correct.
Like they basically
football
said, you
program at
no
all,
football
or
at
just
all.
no
Yeah.
bowl. Like
No football program at all.
Yep.
SMU didn't have a football program for years. They now have they have one now, but they didn't for like, I don't know, 10 years. It's just a guess.
All right. Second round. Acting.
Oh, well, very rarely are we treated to such a masterclass as we are in these movies. Headed by formidable stalwarts of the drama genre, James Caan and Nick Nolte, you really put these generally angry white men at the heads of your films, and then you surround them with great talent, and you let that talent feed into the genius, right? It's like making a soup or a complicated recipe. You get all the choicest, freshest ingredients, and you throw them all in a pot. You just watch magic happen. And that's what we saw for at least 4 hours over these last couple weeks as we've been watching these movies. In all seriousness, Shaquille O'Neal is not the bastion of charisma that he is now. He is a void on the screen. Penny Hardaway is okay, I guess. The white guy is pretty bad. Ricky Rowe. James Caan does not give a shit. Could not be bothered to show up for this movie. No one in the program is any good, with the exception of the guy who plays... Damn it. Andrew said his name earlier, and I can't remember who he played.
Sorry, my mic was off. Abraham Ben Ruby. He played Bud Light. Kaminsky. He's pretty funny. He has funny lines, and I actually like him in most movies that I see him in because he plays these big, goofy, weird roles.
Now, am I thinking right? Was he not the sidekick in Parker Lewis Can't Lose? Does
Yes,
anyone
he was.
remember
Yeah.
that show? Look at
Yes.
that, Tom.
Yes.
Parker Lewis can't lose.
Yes,
I
he
love it.
was. And he's
Um,
he's in Your First Million is the hardest to make.
So I would say the only good acting that Latimer does in this movie is when he is lifting weights. He's acting real scared and jacked up. That's pretty good. And then the scene where he drunkenly tries to date rape a woman. He's actually really terrifying in that movie because he is fucking gigantic, and that's a really scary scene.
How
about the
small
part-
was that girl? My God.
Did they
she-
Yeah, they
like,
chose
oh my
the
God,
smallest
just break
actress
her
they
in
could
half.
find too. Good
I know.
Lord.
It looked like the mountain and his wife.
If he tried to shove her in his pocket, I would not have been surprised at some point in that scene. But yeah, the rest of the movie is pretty poorly acted. It's all really one note. Even the bad stuff that happens falls flat because no one can give a real good dramatic performance. I do like that they explore some of the negative outcomes that happen in some of these people's lives, like Latimer breaking down and realizing he probably could never play in the NFL because he can't get away with doping, and Mac never studying and going to school and then breaking his leg and he can never play football again. Like, they do touch on some of the darker side of these things where you can't just rely on sports for your life. And I think that's kind of cool to deal with in a movie like this. Of course, it happens sometimes in sports movies, but that's neither here nor there with acting. Everybody's bad, mostly. I think Nick Nolte shows up and gives a decent performance. Mm-hmm. But I think this is straight out of the Nick Nolte's Sleepwalking Acting Academy, where he could do this without putting in a ton of effort. He's really good at this shit. At yelling and commanding a scene and being loud and boisterous. So I give him a lot of credit for actually showing up and doing it. Especially, I watched the program second, and I was like, James Caan was in The Godfather. And he is not on set for this movie.
Yeah.
It was a Godfather 2, though, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm just...
Yeah, but good Lord.
Nick Nolte always makes me think that something, like, he's going to explode. Like...
Yes,
he's
he
about
looks like
ready
a man
to,
with a fuse attached to him,
and he's
like, "Oh shit!"
Like he's always, it's so intense. Like he's ready to take a shit, and he's got to hold it in, and it's making him so cranky, and he's just gonna implode or explode all at the same time, and shit's gonna go everywhere.
I got an idea for a Funny or Die skit. Nick Nolte teaches acting in a phone booth,
but
he just screams at you.
I have to agree with Kyle that in Blue Chips, Nick Nolte, I at least found him engaging.
Yes. Yeah.
Even Halle Berry in the program was just kind of like.
Okay, I wanted to talk about that a little bit
yeah.
as far as
She
casting, because it turns out, when he met with her, when that kid, when Omar Epps' character,
Omar Epps
came off the bus and met with her, I thought, oh, she's like an administrator or something. She's like staff at the college, and she's showing him around.
Yeah.
And then he's kind of hitting that on her at the end. I'm like, this is weird. And then it turns out she's a student. I'm like, how is she a student?
How the hell are any of them students?
Oh,
She was
They're like
27.
30 years old.
She was 27.
Watch a high school movie, and like all of the high school actors are like
I
in
know,
their
but
late 20s.
Joe Kane was 35.
Yeah,
He looked 35 in this movie.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's got to be hard though.
I might go for the Heisman. I lost it to Archie Manning. I think I got a shot this time around.
I mean,
14th time's the charm.
Does anybody find it a little bit weird to be mixing like fictional players and fictional teams with real life players and teams and coaches and stuff like that? It throws me off a little bit, because it's like, well, this school isn't real, and these players aren't real, but they're talking to they're talking to Larry Bird, and they're playing against Iowa, and they're playing in
like Shaq.
Yeah, Danny Knight and.
Yeah, and what conference are they in that they have to play Texas, Georgia Tech, Iowa, and Michigan? Like,
yeah, that is.
Hey guys, we still got a chance at the conference since we're the only team in it.
Yeah, they're
Right.
like that. They must be Notre Dame.
Yeah, they're no. Oh, there you go.
We played
Notre Dame.
Texas A&M, and then we went over and played
Yeah.
Texas, and then
Yeah.
we played Iowa, and I was like, wait, what?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they
wanna
must have a strong
come on.
out-of-conference schedule.
Space Jam is about artificial teams, and there's real sports people in that.
Yeah, I know. It's just weird though to me. It's like, well, I get that for legal reasons they probably can't like have real teams and all that. But it's a little confusing. But yeah, the acting is not great in any of these. Nick Nolte is kind of a standout, which I never thought I would ever say in my entire life.
You know that he was coached by Denzel Washington, though.
I think, I want to talk real quick. Like, the women in the program, what the fuck is wrong with them? Like, this is like the weakest women characters I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. Like, what did Joe Kane exactly do to win over that girl? Like,
I
He was a
wondered the
total douche.
same thing. Christy Swanson fell for him for what?
for what did
What?
At what point did she go? She's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely investing the rest of my life in this fucking guy who dodges trains and drives drunk and runs his motorcycle and
Yeah.
I heard allegedly lays in the middle of the highway. Yeah, I definitely want to stick with this guy.
They did the motorcycle ride, and she was all pissed off. She's like, "You could have killed me," and all this, and blah blah. And then they cut, and they're having dinner or having a beer together, and all cuddly and laughing. I'm like, "Wait, what? What?"
Yeah,
What happened?
Well, it was the sexist joke at the end that really won her over.
Oh, about the dogs barking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because every girl is like, "Oh, be still my heart. I'll have a beer with you." Because you just said that my
Exactly.
scream woke every dog in the area. Oh my god!
That sucks too, because up until that point, the program was passing the Bechdel test, like it was crushing it. And then, you show up in this scene, and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, really?"
There he goes.
The one moment where you degrade the woman and she has to put up with this man. I'm like, come on, you guys are doing so good. Yeah,
Yeah,
rampant
and
sexism and anti-intellectualism in a 1990s college football movie?
No.
It's bad though. Tom's absolutely right.
Halle
The
Berry
women in this
doesn't- Halle
movie
Berry-
serve no purpose but to be with the men.
Halle Berry doesn't get a pass either. Her character, like, what did Omar Epps do? Like,
I know.
I mean, the women are just like,
He
I just
immediately
want to be
shows
close
up and starts annoying her.
You showed up
Yeah.
to tutoring.
Right.
That's all it takes, right?
He learned how to use a couple of big words, and he scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just
but yeah, nope.
yeah. Where was the line where it's like,
starting job?
yeah, both times.
It's
And
really
she,
nice of Nick Nolte's wife, ex-wife, to let him
and
just
her-
come over to his house.
Her dad just like, hey man, I like you as long as you keep
Oh.
scoring. It's like, that's really up to your daughter, sir.
That's a great thing to teach your daughter, and something your genius daughter would really fall for. I mean,
Yeah.
she's played off as being so smart, but cannot figure this out. It's not great. It's not great to women.
No.
What about Mary McDonald? She was great. I thought she did.
I thought she was fun. Yeah, she did. She did a good performance. I think her and Nick Nolte are two people who are showing. Maybe we'll talk about this more with the directing, but getting your actors to deliver a performance, I feel like they went for that in Blue Chips, and in the program they're like, first take, good enough.
Yeah,
Let's do
and
it.
it was and her with her and Nick Nolte, the story made a lot more sense. Where she's like, look, I don't, the whole I don't trust you with you, and you don't have a shot here. It's just like they actually put some obstacles up, and it wasn't just like some fangirl. It's just like, I just want to sleep with the coach.
Yeah, no, she wasn't thirsty for Nick Nolte.
No. And then Shaquille walked in, and she still, she was still available. So
Yeah,
I feel like Shaquille would walk in, and she'd just be like, "I'm out of here.
Shaquille
I
walked
will-
in, she's like, "I've done that."
I will tutor you."
well, speaking of things you shouldn't do in your movie, you should definitely write a character named Neon. That's That's very 90s as well. Good Lord.
Absolutely. Oh, do we hit cameos real quick? Is this a cameo section?
Well, he went over and he hung out with the hackers with Angelina Jolie and
oh yeah, he's one of the hacker crew.
Neon.
Him and Crash Override and Zero Cool.
Zero Cool.
Were there any cameos you guys particularly enjoyed?
Yeah, the guy who plays the athletic director of the Western Dolphins is a Boston Celtics legend.
Bob Cousy?
Bob Cousy. And that scene where he's shooting free throws with Nick Nolte and he can't miss those free throws. I was like, there's something about this. I know something about this scene. And I had to look it up and realize, oh yeah, that guy is a Hall of Famer, multiple time All-Star, like Boston Celtics legend or whatever.
What did he win? Yeah. He won like 11. What did he win? Like 8 rings with the Celtics?
And just so ridiculous. And he couldn't miss. And Nick Nolte actually saying you can't even miss left-handed felt like an ad lib to me because he just switches hands.
It was an ad lib.
Yeah.
When they were doing that, when they were shooting Nick Nolte's stuff, he was doing it and would not miss. He could not miss.
Yeah, that was an fairly authentic. Like he was actually not missing. Yep. You know, the only thing you could say is that like when he would shoot the arc of the ball would go out of screen, and then it would come down.
Yes.
No, that was Bob
There's no way that looks real. That
was Bob Cousy making it.
There was a lot of Nick Nolte moments where he was on the sideline where he would be mouthing things, and you could see it was one thing, but that's not what was the voiceover.
Oh, the ADR in these movies.
The ADR was terrible.
Holy shit. I don't know that I've ever seen worse.
All right, guys.
Oh.
We're up. Time's up. Kyle, who are you voting for?
In acting, you know what? This is a clear runaway. I would be screamed at by Nick Nolte in Blue Chips.
Okay. Andrew.
I'm going to also go with Nolte Vision for Blue Chips.
All right. Tom.
I have a saying where we're from. In for a penny, in for a house for Alfred Woodard. Blue Chips.
All right. And Gabe.
Nick Nolte does it for me for Blue Chips as well.
Whoa.
Wow.
Just real quick, I want to write a buddy film with Nick Nolte and Kathleen Kennedy just to hear them sounding exactly like each other. Not Kathleen Kennedy, Kathleen Turner. God.
Turner?
Yeah, Kathleen Turner.
Just remember, Tom, with your Blue Chips, the house always takes a cut.
That's fine. They're welcome to. Wait, like poker chips or like tortilla chips? Because those Blue Chips are good too.
Both.
Blue tortilla chips are pretty good.
Nick Nolte worked on Blue Chips on the weekends as he was also working on I'll Do Anything at the same time. He shadowed Coach Bobby Knight during Indiana's 1992 season to prepare for this role. So he's working the weekends, yet he's still probably the best actor out of both these films.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that says something. Some of the more prominent extras have names on the back of their football jerseys that are of the crew of the program. Clearly visible are Ward, writer and director David S. Ward, Klopp, set decorator Kathy Klopp, and McLaughlin, first assistant director Josh McLaughlin.
Craft services never get any love.
No, they don't. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Always a craft, never a craft service.
Yes. All right. Third round directing.
So, directed like a traditional 90s sports movie. So, one thing I hated about sports movies is, especially in the 90s, was the way that a lot of the sports moments were shot. And these are no exception. Both the football games and the basketball games, there's lots of camera movements. There's lots of blurry action. There's lots of shifting things around, players running around. You're not really sure where you're at. It's very disorienting. They're quick cuts. There's 20 cuts for 30 seconds of shots, and you're just like, what? I don't know what's going on. Lots of yelling, slow-mo, fades in and out. About the only thing that made any of that stand out was they did it twice in the program, and that was they actually did from the quarterback's or the running back's point of view inside his helmet, looking out as he was running down the field, and the guys were, and you could see from inside his helmet, which I thought was relatively different because that's not what. You don't think so?
No, I didn't care for that at all.
It's great.
Maybe that was cool in a movie theater, but I was watching it on my phone, so maybe I lost something.
Well, that's why you don't like these movies. These movies are IMAX. You're meant to see these on the big screen.
So I thought it was cool. It was a little different. The camera shots were, you could tell that it was relatively new technology because they were much lower quality than the rest of the film. They were very grainy and just crappy looking, but it was something different that I hadn't seen before. But other than that, most of the sports moments are very much like you would expect in any other sports movie from the 90s. I don't know. There's really not a ton of magic that I saw in either one of these. Technically, I think it would be super difficult to shoot a very organized basketball and or football game. It would need to be choreographed to be able to shoot it well, to do multiple takes, that kind of thing, and not have people get hurt because, these guys are in pads, they're hitting each other, or basketball, they're running around. And some of them are actors. They're not athletes. This is not a thing. So I think part of that is, whether it's a directorial choice or a cinematography choice, I think was used a lot to hide the fact that some of these people are not athletes, they're just actors, and to not have to worry about choreographing all of your basketball games or all of your football games. I believe that would be very difficult, especially to get enough footage, especially with the cameras they had and the largeness and all of the technical work that goes into it. I know we talk a little bit about other things besides just directing. So I know we mentioned VO. The VO in these movies was, like Kyle said earlier, horrible. It was on my list. So I just want to make sure we brought that up as well. And the other thing that we talk about is music. In Blue Chips, there was a lot of, catchy 90s music, a couple of 80s songs that were really good. Same with the program. Again, very stereotypical for that era of sports movies. So overall, both of them, they could have been shot by the same guy and it wouldn't have made any difference.
There was a point in Blue Chips, I think it was the last game against Indiana, where they start the game and there's no music. And I was just like, what the hell is going on? It's just it was a really weird choice, I thought. So
they did that.
But I agree with you. I think one of the big problems with these movies is that the whole. Do we really need sports movies? I mean, we have sports, right? If you want to hear a good see a good sports story, turn on ESPN. Why are we fabricating sports stories when we have real stories all the time? I mean, if anybody saw the Gonzaga UCLA game, you don't need a movie. They're making it for you, and it's unscripted, and it's real, and there's higher stakes. And I don't know. I like some sports movies, but stuff like this just drives me just absolutely bonkers. It's just why are we doing this? And you can't replicate the excitement of a real athletic event movie. It's not possible.
You mentioned the no music in Blue Chips. In the program, they did the same thing at the very end because they get down and they hike the ball, and as he picks it up, there's no music, and then it slowly comes in with a beat, and then they bring in a little bit more. But it was, again, stereotypes exist for a reason, right?
just like real football when they do that, and they start playing music over the PA in the middle of a play. It happens all the time.
We would get penalties if you played music during a play.
Yeah.
Well, we give Zack Snyder a lot of shit for his slow motion, but the slow motion in the program was terrible. It just looked awful, and they overused it. Yeah. It was not good.
Oh, well, I'm assuming part of it's probably, technology. I'm assuming they were shooting real film, and it was just garbage. Like I said, fast movement, basketball, excitement. That's all I could think of while they were playing. I was like, basketball things, passing. Woo! It's like, what?
Yeah, and I think you're right, Andrew, in that it would be really difficult to film any sort of cohesive, meaningful game footage, without it being highly choreographed and shot from many, many angles to make it, interesting. And I think it comes down to, how much of the story is really about the in-game action, and how much of it is about all the things around it, the characters around it. So I think they have to make decisions like, how much game do we need to show? How much does the outcome of this game impact the rest of the story in what, these characters are going to do based on that outcome, and how important, ironically, how important are the sports in a sports movie? Well, and I think both of these movies show that neither of them were really necessarily about the sport itself or the games themselves. They had to play them. They had to show them. It was part of the story, but it wasn't the most important part.
I would agree it wasn't the most important part, but it did definitely drive, as it always does, as we've talked about, it drives, decisions and potentially outcomes, people getting mad, people getting kicked off the team. So the team is bad now because this dude was juicing. So, there is some of that to it.
Where is the drama? Is the drama in the game, or is the drama in the characters?
Yeah, it definitely feels like a subplot is the actual sports of the sports movie.
Because they gloss over whole seasons,
oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like a whole season. And like Tom was saying, that's part of building the drama in any kind of sports event, is knowing the history of this team.
Sure.
Over time, and they gloss over that because they have to. They obviously can't show all of that in a single movie. But
you end up with the fact that when you have these cliche moments at the end where it's like, are they going to score and they're going to win the final game that they've worked so hard for? It's not intense because it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
I think one of the huge problems with sports movies, though, is that when they try to straddle the line and they're like, the sub stories and the sports are both important. When they're like, look, this is a movie about basketball, and they stick to it, and they're like, this is a movie about basketball. The side stories are side stories that we're not going to push too hard, but mainly it's a movie about basketball. You get a movie like Hoosiers, and then when you get when they're like, hey, the baseball is just kind of the back for this story about these three people, then you get a movie like Bull Durham. And those movies, when they decide which direction they're going to go, that's when you get a good sports movie. But these two movies are just like, we'll just do it both, and you can't. Yeah, no, you've got to decide what's more important, the people or the players or the sports.
And
I've never produced a sports movie, but I do know everything.
Yes. And Gabe, to your point about the only way that I've ever thought about it, and I've only thought about it with football, would be to have your actors and then have a bunch of doubles that are actually football players, because they're all in pads and stuff, and actually have them play games.
You could conceal it better.
And you could have them play games. You could shoot it. You could, rig the game in a sense, and you could shoot all that footage and you would be like, these are real football players and it looks somewhat realistic and none of your actors have to be involved. But most of the time in the 90s, that's not what we did.
So
what's more important, good actors or good sports, good athletes when you're making a sports movie?
It depends on which side of the sports movie you're making, right, Tom?
That's right. There you go.
Yeah. Good answer, Andrew. Good answer.
There you go.
So were there any shots? Were there any shots in these movies that you guys liked? Do you remember? Did any stand out to you?
The shot from inside the camera, because I thought that was kind of neat.
I thought the inside the helmet stuff was interesting, especially when I was younger. It doesn't hold up though, but it is interesting. It's interesting because it's unlike everything else. I thought the scenes in the locker rooms were decent for Blue Chips because they really focus on Nick Nolte and pan around to see the impact he's having on people. I thought that was kind of interesting. But as far as like
lighting and stuff in that, I guess. It was a little bit TV looking, but it was
the cold opening where he comes in and yells at everybody, throws the water,
great.
Leaves, and then about 10 seconds later walks back in. Is like
comes back in.
Look,
that's one of my favorite scenes from these movies.
I thought that was pretty good. So Kyle, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, but no, the rest of it's really average.
There was a shot where Nick Nolte, I think he was maybe, it was maybe before he actually did anything and was considering, cheating, basically. And he was sitting on the bleachers at the basketball court, and there was a basketball really up close in the shot. And I thought that shot was very nice. And I thought it kind of was representative of how, basketball was bigger than him to a certain degree. And I thought that shot was very nice. And I actually kind of liked the rain stuff at the very, very beginning of the program. I didn't like the freeze frame where they put their hands down, but the rain stuff, I thought that would be hard to get.
Like the first game? The
very, very beginning of the
fake rain.
The same thing with
it was
what
fake,
was it?
but I thought it
Any Given Sunday. Why is it so fucking dark? Have they never been to? They do turn lights on.
No lights on. That's not what a game looks like.
But
at
it
night.
looked cool.
I can answer that because you have to shoot rain backlit. You have to shoot that backlit.
And also,
and it was very back
in football games. At least it is definitely now, and was when I was in high school, which was around the same time. If it was thunder and lightning out, you're not playing football.
That's true.
Correct.
Sorry,
but there are a lot of inaccuracies as far as gameplay.
If it's just kind of rain and lightly, it's okay. But if it's pouring down rain, they're like, nah. Somebody's gonna get hurt.
But that was a ridiculous amount of rain. What was that, like the 30th fucking take they did where they just didn't clean up the water? Because it was a silly amount of water on that field.
It's like halfway, almost up to their ankles.
Yes.
And I know,
it's ridiculous.
No, they would have pulled them because of injury.
They do the same thing in The Last Boy Scout.
Yes.
Yeah, You're right. They do.
Yep.
They do. That's where the guy runs with the gun on the field, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have played in games where it's been very rainy and muddy. Not to that extent. No one has ever played in a game that looks like that.
They
call that game because everybody's broken their goddamn ankles trying to run in that shit.
Yes.
But I have played in some muddy, nasty games before, and
yes.
And what makes me laugh is that what happens to football when it gets muddy is all of a sudden everyone's the same speed. So they don't show it, but everyone looks like they're on ice skates when you play in a game that bad. And I wish they would have shown that, just like people doing Benny Hill skits and falling down and shit. Because nobody's running out 60 yards for a go pattern in the middle of that shit. You can't even see the ball.
Right.
You can barely catch it.
Yeah, but all of a sudden everybody is the same speed. And that was the best, probably one of the best games I ever had in my life was a game because I was like, I'm not that slow anymore. Everyone's slow now.
The ball is slippery. People are fumbling. Yes. People are jumping on top. The ball shoots out. It looks like a really funny, weird.
Yeah,
I can
guess
just hear
what we're
Kyle.
Gonna do on this play? We're going to run the ball. Guess what on this play? We're going to run the ball because you cannot pass in this shit.
I could just hear Kyle, young Kyle, in his helmet while it's raining. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
You're all like me now.
All right, let's put it to a vote. Andrew.
By just a small margin, because I really don't know what to vote for, but the helmet cam was kind of cool in the program.
All right.
I guess kind of voting for the program.
All right, Tom.
I'm voting for Blue Chips because the camera cam sucked ass. The head camera cam sucked.
Gabe.
I'm gonna go with Blue Chips as well.
All right, and Kyle.
Yes, in this case, this Blue Chips is the Bob Cousy left-handed free throw of these movies. It is far and away better.
All right. William Friedkin's decision to cast basketball players such as Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway as the basketball players was rooted in the director's sentiment that actors make for unconvincing athletes in most sports films. So I love
vice versa,
and
Mr.
vice versa, yes.
And athletes
How did we
make
not
for
talk about that in
unconvincing
directives?
actors.
How did we not talk about that Blue Chips is directed by the guy who directed The Exorcist?
Well, we can talk about that in overall.
That's insane to me.
It's crazy, isn't it? The original release of the program contained a scene where several ESU players lay on the yellow dividing line of a busy local road as a test of their courage. When 2 young men were killed and several others injured by imitating the stunt, Buena Vista excised the scene from the film. No post-theatrical versions of the movie feature the sequence, leading many to speculate that the studio destroyed the actual camera negatives of the scene. However, as mentioned earlier on the podcast, you can find the scene on YouTube.
Yeah, I believe it was left in some Chinese cut of the film for an extended period of time, and was therefore available to be ripped, which makes me realize that in the 90s distribution was crazy because how the program got released in China doesn't make any sense to me, but I read that somewhere. That may not be true, but
They're huge football fans there.
yeah, the program's very true to life too.
Yes,
a great
it is.
representation of American football. Shows all the glitz and glamour.
What's even funnier is that they cut this scene because of problems, and yet it didn't make.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at something Tom just said. That's great.
It didn't make any difference in the film.
Yeah.
So maybe it should have been cut in the first place.
Right. Right. All right, let's move on to our fourth and final round overall.
We talked about a lot of the things that I wanted to cover. I think the women characters in the program are horrible. And, it's funny because I watched Blue Chips and I was like, oh, it was pretty good. And I thought we were going to have a pretty good bout. And then I watched the program and it was, I really disliked the program a lot from top to bottom. I hated, this is serious. I hated it so much because for the first time in my entire life, I was cheering for the Iowa Hawkeyes. It will never happen again. Here's the thing. Like, I really wanted Eastern State to fucking lose. Like, they didn't deserve any of the success that they had coming to them. They were all assholes and they cheated, and there was nothing redeeming about them. And the fact that I was cheering for the Hawkeyes, that's proof enough that they really kind of screwed something up. So, the other thing was we talk a lot about how, when you need that wide shot of a action scene to kind of help get your bearings about what's happening and placement of everything. Sports movies need that too, even in the grand scope of a season. So, like, I was incredibly confused, and maybe this is because this is the situation of bowl games in '93, but like they went 6-6, and they're like, damn, we missed out on a bowl, and then I think they changed bowl eligibility back to 6 games since then. But even so, if it was 7 games, they got to the end of the season and they won 7 games. Like, that was their big achievement. They did one better than 50-50. Like, I didn't understand where they were in their conference and how they're doing. And if they just made bowl eligibility, they won their conference. It didn't make any damn sense to me at all. I just had no idea where they were in their season. So
you know what that makes me think of, Tom, is Rush. Because they kind of have to quickly take you through the various races
Yeah.
So they give you some context there. They have to do it fairly quickly, but they give you some context of like, there are all these races leading up to this one. And, these people won this race or another. And these are the stakes. So they kind of give you that a little bit. Whereas in these two movies, you don't really have any clue of like a cohesive idea of what the season itself was like.
Yeah,
why are the consequences so high here?
So they rushed through the season.
Yeah, the only mention of the season
they did.
is when they bring Bobby Collins back into the football team in the program. They have one news clipping saying Collins goes 2-2 in like his last 4 games, and that's one of the reasons they tell James Caan to bring him back. It's because he's good enough to get them a split over their next 4 games. But that's like the only reference. And when we talk about seasons too, Blue Chips is really confusing because Nick Nolte has this huge conflict about whether or not to break the rules. Then he goes out and recruits an all-star team. As far as I can tell, they play 1 game against Indiana, win, and he implodes.
Yeah.
And then confesses to everything and quits his job. So he's the worst cheater in the history of sports. He cheated for maybe 3 months and couldn't handle the pressure of winning 1 game, and then immediately folded and quit. And like goes from that to like, I'm going to teach kids on the playground. This is what coaching is all about. And then at the end, he gets a happy ending because he's a coach in a small high school in the Midwest.
But
it's a bizarre choice to have an ending. You don't show him like blowing people out that season and like going to the Final Four and all that stuff, and then he can't handle the pressure. They play 1 game and he just gives up.
But Gabe, to follow your Rush analogy, that falls into what Tom was saying. We all agreed that Rush was about the actors and their story and less about the racing when we had that bout in the first place. Racing was a part of it, but it was a really big character development, and we talked about that. And that falls into Tom's earlier comment of they kind of picked a side.
Yeah, but even so, they do kind of give you context as far as
they do
how the rest of the races go.
I would
agree.
They do it. They definitely do it better than both of these movies even attempted to.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always been more drawn to basketball than football anyway. In my video job, these are the people that I work with now. I talk to NCAA coaches every day and make videos with them, and so like Blue Chips for me hit. I watched it for the first time, like a lot of you guys, at a point where I'm very much entrenched in this type of the college basketball culture, and my days are spent going through footage, and we've shot open practices at colleges all over the country, and just watching these coaches behind closed doors work with their players and stuff. And I guess my point is that the culture of college sports since these 2 movies have come out has changed dramatically. Like the whole time I'm watching Blue Chips, I'm like, well, you could never get away with that now. The stuff that Bobby Knight pulled, you couldn't do now. And the coaches are much more calm and reserved, and I'm not entirely. I mean, we have endless footage of coaches, swearing at players and stuff, but it's definitely different. Like Nick Nolte's character wouldn't last very long. I think there's the administrations for these schools don't have the patience for these kind of assholes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're dinosaurs. They're just
for sure. Yeah, and you look at that, and like we were saying before, like even in the football games, it's like, well, the players couldn't even do the things that they're doing in these games, and maybe they could then, they could get away with that kind of stuff, but a lot of it would be violations. These people would be kicked out. If you tackled somebody the way that the coach is telling you to tackle them, that would be targeting, and you would get thrown out of the game, and you wouldn't get to play the next one. And yeah, it is kind of interesting to see how that is.
Oh yeah, targeting wasn't a thing in the 90s.
Oh yeah, no, it's totally changed. And it makes you wonder like how much of it was just like for dramatic purposes, and how much of it is, through our lens of today, how this stuff has changed.
Yeah, but
the social context around it, and the safety concerns for the players and that kind of thing.
I would still say there's a stereotype, especially I would say more against football, about having the football coach that is rough, that treats you like a military squad where they scream and they want to break you down to make you stronger, and that is still very much a stereotype, especially in football movies. And I would say there's probably that exists in real life. Kyle probably knows better than any of us, but there is that stigma that hangs around, that football is this rough game. The coaches are just always angry and dramatic and make you just do the stupidest shit, but it's to make you better kind of thing. So,
it follows like a military hierarchy.
Yes.
Where you have like a leader who is trying to shape you and mold you. Yeah, I had some fucking rough football coaches who were real dicks and would make you do really severe things. But I never heard anybody be told to injure someone else.
Well,
and the weirdest penalty I ever saw was we had a quarterback who'd come over from another high school, and when we played that high school, their whole entire defensive, like front 7 or 8, started like saying his last name in like a real sing-songy way, like they were chanting at him, and they got a 15-yard penalty for that. So that shit wouldn't fly even in the 90s, because this was like 98 at the latest. So you couldn't really talk to the other team and shit talk. You get flagged.
Did you try to take your skate off and try to stab somebody? Is that really what happened?
I'm the only guy. Yeah.
Well,
my greatest asset as a football player was that it takes a while to run around me. That was my best ability. It was like, I am wide.
I will agree with your sentiment, though, because when we were in college, we would go to our basketball games. Our fraternity would go, and we would sit in this small auditorium of our college, and we would yell what the other team was doing. So we would, as a group, just be like, bounce, bounce, pass, bounce, 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 shoot. Oh, yeah, and that didn't fly. We got penalties for that and finally got kicked out. So, and that was in the 90s, too.
Yeah.
Real quick, it was brought up about William Friedkin actually directing Blue Chips, and he had done The Exorcist. You know what other movies he did?
No, but I got a
French Connection.
Connection.
Yeah, right. So these are on two opposite ends of his movie.
Yes. And then David S. Ward directed.
Yeah, what did he do?
Major League, King Ralph, The Program,
Oh God,
Major League 2, and one of my favorite submarine movies, Down Periscope.
Oh God.
Hey, Sideshow Bob.
So that explains a little bit of some of the comedy that's in The Program, then.
Yeah.
Major League movies are so much better than The Program.
Yes.
Yes.
And I assume you like those as well, Mike.
What, Major League?
Yeah.
League 2? Oh, I love Major League 2. Yeah.
Further destroying your initial claim that you don't like sports movies.
No, I said unless it's baseball or hockey, and then I started
or
naming
basketball.
Off of it. Yeah.
Wait, do you like the Mighty Ducks?
I do.
Yeah.
See, hockey movie.
That's why I said unless it's baseball or hockey.
Okay.
Those are usually what I gravitate towards. But yeah, I just found that, and then Down Periscope, which is a guilty pleasure of mine.
Wow.
So
Well, we know it can go down from The Program.
yeah. No, stop. All right. Anything else? You guys have 30 seconds. I'll give you an
If you
extra
guys want to do
seconds.
a quick Q&A with a real life varsity football player, I'm here. Field all your answers. You ever had anything you were wondered about?
Did you ever puke and rally?
Yeah, I puked really fucking hard one time with my mouthpiece in and through my mask, and that was a fucking nightmare. The kid hit me right in the stomach, right in the helmet, and I. What?
It didn't have a shield on it, did it?
No.
Okay,
This
good.
is before the days of shields that we didn't wear those. But yeah, a kid hit me right in the guts, and before I knew it, I just felt something in my throat. I couldn't even get my mouthpiece out. But it was all over my mask on the inside. It smelled so bad. Oh, it was terrible.
That's nasty.
I didn't rally much after that. I kind of held my stomach, And the coach told me, look, if you're fucking hurt, get out of here. Otherwise, get back in the drill. And I was just kind of wandering around, leaning up against a tree.
You look like one of the soldiers in Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, there's just a din of like a high-pitched scream of music around me, and I'm wandering around trying to find my arm.
So Jesus. Wow, that's awesome. So, everyone talks about when they get in the doggy pals and they poke eyes and they punch and they pinch and they pull hair.
Oh yeah. No, I know a guy who got stabbed in the leg with a piece of wood someone ripped off a bench in a pile.
Yep.
That's
okay.
Yeah.
You got shivved in the pile?
Yeah, when I was a sophomore, I dressed for a varsity game, and one of our running backs got stabbed in the leg with a piece of wood someone ripped off the bleachers.
Wow.
Jesus. Did you?
It's fucking wild. That's literally probably the wildest thing I've ever seen happen during a football game.
Do you do a lot of up downs, full gear in the middle of August outside, sweating, and it was you don't get water until you do 100 more?
No, we didn't get we didn't get water until we were seniors. It wasn't like a rule. It wasn't a rule to have water on the field when I was like a freshman through junior.
Sure.
Senior year, they installed like a drinking thing where they had a hose running down like a PVC pipe. You could kind of put your mouth under it and suck off of it.
That wasn't.
That's what we
that
got.
wasn't a PVC pipe.
Oh.
So what did you have to do? What would you do if you had to go to the bathroom during
Just
the
go,
game?
man.
During a game, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't. You just piss your pants. If you
I've always
can.
wondered, what do they do? Because there's that joke about what's his name from the Ravens. What was his name? The quarterback.
Flacco?
Flacco?
No. After
Gopher?
Flacco. What's that?
Lamar Jackson?
Oh, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, where he went out of the game, and then he was out of the game for a while, and then he came back and won it. And there was all these jokes that he just had to take a big dump during the game.
I guess if you gotta go, you gotta go. I
Yep.
never saw anybody leave the game to take a dump.
All right, let's put it to a vote.
That was longer than 30 seconds.
Tom,
Sorry.
I have blue chips.
Gabe,
Yep, blue chips for me too.
Kyle.
You got to consider the whole package here, and I think I don't know, movie that taught me a lot about how to avoid drug tests and showing my manliness and dealing with an alcoholic father. I got to go with The Program.
And Andrew.
I'm going with Christy Swanson. To The Program.
Oh, that's
What?
there. We go. All right. Blue Chips takes
Christy
place.
Swanson.
Blue Chips takes place at the fictional university Western University and is located in Los Angeles, California. Western University is also the name of the fictional Los Angeles-based university in One-on-One, starring Robbie Benson, which was also a movie about college basketball. There is not a lot of trivia for either of these films.
Hey, is there anything about how they shot them? Because we didn't talk about this, but one of the things I found most fascinating about it is how they shot these giant crowd scenes, because they didn't have the technology to do what we do now. We barely have the technology to do what we do now.
They would shoot them. They shot most of them in like high school gyms, from what I read, and the fact that
They shot The Program in high school.
or
too?
no, not Program,
incredible.
but I'm talking about Blue Chips, because I was speaking about Blue Chips.
Gotcha.
For The
And-
Program, they would use different college crowds. You can see
Yes.
sometimes one of the crowds like, oh, there's a lot of North Carolina State Wolfpack shirts in this crowd. What the hell?
Yep.
Yeah.
And-
Again,
but
I watched it on my phone.
Hold on.
It says on IMDb that they shot at Indiana High School.
Yes, and most of the extras that came to see Shaquille O'Neal play, like
Penny Hardaway.
yeah, Penny Hardaway.
They had just been drafted back-to-back years by the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, so they were there to see them play. So that's how they got, they had full crowds
Free
for the basketball
extras.
scenes, and then most of the program was shot on college campuses, so they'd just show up. Dan Huff, did that answer your question, Tom?
No, because I found your answer full of like very implausible. So I'll just look myself. Just forget it.
Wow.
If you're not gonna look, I'll just look.
God,
myself.
I
It's
hate
fine.
you. Dan Huff and David Huff listed as quote unquote featured musicians in the closing credits of the program were members of the band Giant, who had a hit with the song I'll See You in My Dreams in the 1980s. The program does not have a lot of trivia. So I imagine there's not a lot of people out there trying to find trivia about the program.
Does anybody get bored? Does anybody get bored sometimes when you're watching a movie? So you just pretend that the actor is playing the same character. So like after he gets fired from Eastern State, he goes and starts a children's book company, and then his elf child comes and finds him. Does anybody do that? Just me? No.
He somehow got a personality in all those years.
Yeah.
We just talked about it. Neon.
I love pretending
the movie Hackers.
I love pretending that the same actors' characters are all just one giant universe.
Yeah, I like it.
Hey, really all the same character.
Mike, do you like Teen Wolf? That's a basketball movie.
Love Teen Wolf. Oh wait, I got
characters first.
I also like The Absent-Minded Professor and The Son of Flubber. And,
basketball movies
and football. Yep.
And football.
Got it.
That's right. Yeah. And that the sports is definitely a side story. They've decided to focus on the characters
and on science. I use my air quotes. All right, recommendations for this month. Gabe, go.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go. This is not even related to the movies we were talking about.
Okay, you need to start over and find something that does. We'll move on to... No, keep going, Gabe.
My girlfriend and I, on the recommendation of her sister, watched an HBO miniseries called Sharp Objects. Have any of you seen it?
Yes, I have.
No.
It was kind of interesting. It's very dark and very depressing. But I did find it interesting, and I at the end I found myself thinking about it and like talking about it, like trying to figure it out. And the performances in it are really, really good. Amy Adams is in it, and she's really very good. And who played Adora? Do you remember, Kyle, the mom?
Oh, I don't know her name.
Dora
She's a
the
famous
Explorer?
older actress.
Oh my god! You know, I think of people who play these awful characters so well. I feel bad for the actors because I think a lot of people have a hard time separating the actor from the character. And I think it has driven some actors to actually quit acting because they did such a good job that people think that's who they are. And she is like that in this. She is so awful. I hated her character, but Patricia Clarkson.
Yes, I just looked it up. Yep.
She is fantastic in it. She is so good at being awful that she's just mesmerizing. And then there's a young girl named Eliza Scanlon, and she is really good at being kind of frighteningly awful as well. And the direction and the editing kind of makes they kind of gaslight you with the direction and the editing. You don't know exactly what's happening and what do I believe and is this real? Is this not? So it's a really interesting series. I don't know if it's for everybody. It's very, very dark, and there are very few characters with any redeeming qualities. But it was an interesting watch, so I would recommend you see Sharp Objects.
All right. Thank you, Gabe.
Cool.
Kyle.
Oh, my turn? I'm going to recommend a football movie that I absolutely loved, and it's the first football movie I ever owned on DVD on my $300 Pioneer DVD player that I bought when they were brand new. It sounded like a diesel engine running. It got hot as fuck. It was this big black box, and that is Varsity Blues. Varsity Blues is one of the best high school football movies I've ever seen, and I enjoy the hell out of it. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I make no claim to its actual quality when stacked up against other movies, but I remember loving it, and it made me obsessed with the song My Hero by the Foo Fighters, which I think is probably the best song played in a sports movie over a play and like repeated plays to like get you amped up. Man, it was like the jam back in the day. I absolutely loved it. Varsity Blues was great. I don't know how well it holds up, but if you haven't seen it, you definitely should, because it is another one of those movies that's very much of the time it was released, and I'm sure is a time capsule from a specific set of years.
And, cool whip bikini.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, bikini. Cool whip bikini. Which, it makes me sad that teenagers these days don't know what that is, because that was the thing back then, man. We were obsessed with that.
Yeah. I still have mine.
No, yeah. That's how you get ants.
Great soundtrack, by the way. First, there's lots of Collective Soul on there. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is good soundtrack.
Collective Soul, the loudest concert I've ever seen in my life.
They're great. They're great live.
Which is crazy because I've seen Pantera and Metallica and Megadeth and all these other bands, and Collective Soul was the loudest show I've ever seen in my life. And they're really good live.
They are good. They're going to be in Dubuque this summer. I might go.
There are a few of us.
My ears out.
Son of a bitch.
Go ahead, Mike. You were talking.
Just talk, dude.
There are a few of us that worked with Billy Bob
until like their second or third album. That blue one with the spiral in the front. I can't remember what it's called.
I hate all of you.
I know the Let the Light Shine.
I quit.
I'm
done.
There you go. But that one, the self-titled Collective Soul album, I listened to like on repeat.
I just bought that on vinyl. Go ahead, Mike.
Just remember, I know where all of you live.
8-track is the thing now.
Gabe and I, Kyle, were you? I don't know if you were on the shoot working with. Was it Billy Bob?
What was no, I know you worked with him, but no, I was not.
Oh God, damn, Ron Lester, right?
Ron Lester,
yeah. Ron Lester. God bless him.
That was an experience.
Passed away now. But Andrew.
Shit, way to bring us down.
Sorry. Yeah. And if you want to watch the movie, it's called I Think My Mom's Trying to Kill Me.
I don't really have a sports movie to recommend
That's
either.
Fine.
So,
that's all right.
I'm just going to go with one that I watched recently that it was very nostalgic and I enjoyed it, and there were still funny moments, and they didn't do too much of the I'm going to repeat the same thing from the first movie, and that's Coming to America 2.
I really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it too. I thought it was going to be kind of hacky and just repetitive of the same stuff, and it wasn't. They did a really nice job. The comedy was fantastic. The new actors and the way they played in was not like awkward and weird. It was a damn good sequel. So even 20 years later,
yes.
or it's later than that, 30 years, because it was in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yep, that's right.
So it's like 30 years later. So if you haven't seen it and you saw the original, you will enjoy Coming to America 2.
Watch it just for Wesley Snipes. Just watch it for his character. Oh my God.
And
fantastic.
To hear Morgan Freeman talk about fucking is probably the best part, because I never thought I'd see Morgan Freeman talk about fucking.
Tom.
All right, so I'm going to kind of break rules. I'm going to recommend 2. One's timely and one relates to the podcast. Sorry. The first one, sports related. You should check out Ted Lasso on Apple TV. It's about a football coach who goes to England to coach a soccer team. It's the best TV show of the last 2 years. It's fantastic. It's funny. The sports scenes are really well shot. They do a really good job of actually straddling that line between a show about sports and a show about people. So check out Ted Lasso. You won't regret it. And then my second recommendation is you should go see Raya and the Last Dragon while it's at the theaters. If you've got your shots, go check it out, because it is a stunning piece of work. the action scenes in it, like I thought I had pretty much seen everything you can do in an animated movie, but the directors, they got really creative with camera placement, and the action scenes are like pull you into the movie in a way that I've never seen in a cartoon before, and it is, I don't know, it just like drags you into these fights, and I don't know, it's really great. You should check it out, and much better on the big screen. So mask up, get your shots, go check it out before it's gone.
All right. Well, my recommendation is a sports movie, according to Google. It's directed by Sean Levy. It stars Hugh Jackman, Evangeline Lilly, and Dakota Goyo. And it's Real Steel from 2011. It's about robots boxing. I really enjoyed this movie when I rented it. I believe I didn't even see it in the theater, but it's actually well shot. The effects are great. The acting's pretty good, and I actually cared about the storyline, which I wasn't expecting to do. So check out Real Steel. And by the way, just really so you, damn, I had this all up and ready to go. But according to Google, the sports movies include Predator, Predators.
What?
Yeah,
what?
Type in
what?
sports.
Hunting humans is a sport?
Yeah. So action sports movies. Ready? Grand Prix. Okay, fine. Warrior, The Last American Hero, Gridiron Gang, Trading Paint, Driven, Supercross, Le Mans on Any Sunday, Handstone Victory, Longest Yard, Point Break, Rush, then Undisputed.
Point Break.
Surfing?
Yeah. The surfing movie.
They're not competitive surfers, though.
Yeah.
Right. So here it continues to get weirder. Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift, Fight Night.
Also not a sanctioned sport.
Days of Thunder, Rollerball, okay. Never Back Down.
Not a real sport?
Not a real sport.
Death Race 2000.
Not a real sport.
Not a real sport
Should
that
be.
I'm aware of.
Should be.
Predator, Bloodsport.
No sports in fucking Predator.
Bloodsport.
There's got
Predator.
Okay, there's probably an underground blood.
It's got to be a different Predator.
Predator 2. No, it's the same.
I believe Tom. I think you were right until he said Predator 2.
Yes.
And then I realized it must be the franchise.
Hold on, it gets better. Hard Target.
What?
What?
Kickboxer.
No, Hard Target has
Hard Target
in it. Yes.
Okay.
No, Hard Target.
No.
Does
That's
not.
Sudden Death.
That's Sudden Death.
Yeah.
Surviving the Game. The Hunt.
Also about hunting a person.
Yeah.
Sudden Death. Shaolin Soccer.
That's a good movie.
I love Shaolin Soccer. Cosmo Ball.
Never heard of it.
Naked Weapon. Alien versus Predator. Terminal Velocity.
Oh, it's about hunting.
The Accidental Spy. Let's see. The Red Baron.
These must be lists anyone can edit.
How is the Accidental Spy?
It's so if you type in sports movies on Google, and it will, show you a few rows of, like sports comedies, children's sports movies, top picks for you, popular sports movies. So action sports movies is what this all came.
There's a glitch in the algorithm here.
I know.
Running Man? Isn't that that's a sports movie?
Yeah, that's a sports movie, according to Google.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. Let's
Mike,
see.
Dodgeball.
Oh yeah, Dodgeball. Yep. Dodge a wrench,
Goon.
you can dodge a ball. Yeah, Goon's good.
Well, see.
Yeah, like Dune. I like Dune too, but I also like Goon. Fever Pitch, Kicking and Screaming is on here.
What? Wait, because they play soccer in that game or in that movie?
Yes.
The kids?
Yes.
Where's Ladybugs, man? That's my favorite.
Ladybugs.
Ladybugs is on here. There's
oh my God,
also
Chester.
Let us not forget about Air Bud and My Favorite Chimp or whatever it's called. Most Valuable Primate. There we go.
Yeah, MVP. Yeah. What about the
Air
was it
Bud?
called the Air Down There?
Air Down There.
Isn't that the one with Kevin Bacon and
Yep.
he goes to Africa and finds a guy to play basketball?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So wasn't
Have you
My
seen the
Giant?
trailer?
My Giant wasn't that, or did he play
My
basketball?
Giant was George Mirasan from the then Washington Bullets.
Yep.
And I believe Billy Crystal was in that movie.
He was.
There you go.
All right.
Have you seen the trailer for the Space Jam 2, by the way?
No.
Boy, that shit can miss me. You're about 30 years too late for me to care about space.
Sports movie.
I think it's time to poke the monkey, find out who won.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Blue Chips!
Blue Chips is a better movie.
Yeah.
Nick Nolte.
Yeah, Blue Chips.
I think it all came down to Nick Nolte for you guys. I mean, really, that was the deciding factor. Acting had the most votes for Blue Chips, and then directing.
Yeah, it was. Votes. I don't know. I think the sports stuff, like the sports stuff in program, was so ridiculous. Like I kept watching it, going, "That's not right. You can't do that." Where Blue Chips was more of like, "I don't think you can do that."
Right. Okay, where can people find you? We'll start with Gabe.
You can check out our films on I can't even say it. onegenomeshort.com. And you can look me up on Facebook.
All right, Kyle.
You can find me on Facebook, I suppose. My account is private. So you better send me a message ahead of time and let me know you want to be my friend because of this podcast. Otherwise, I'm just going to ignore you because you're probably some scammer trying to get me to buy your nudes. And I don't want your nudes. Porn is free on the internet now. I'm not interested.
I keep telling you, I'm going to keep sending them.
Well, you got to quit making me give you Bitcoin to unblur them, though. I think that's the rude part. Bitcoins are pricey now.
It's a perfect system.
And why is he just blurring his face? I don't get it.
A non-fungible trade or whatever.
Yep, I'm going to buy the NFT of his nude body.
Oh, you're going to own your likeness. Paint me like one of your French girls. I'm on Instagram, but I just lurk. I never post. I don't have a Twitter. I'm probably never going to be allowed to choose movies again because I chose these two.
No, you will be.
So, yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Andrew.
The easiest thing, just go out to ArizonaInkStudios.com, ArizonaInkStudios.com. And if you want to go into any of our social media, you can. But you can find all of our short films and some of our medium-length films. And, of course, all the links to this wonderful podcast out there as well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. Tom?
I'm now a shameless promoter of CineSmack, so I'll be doing a Reddit AMA tonight at 2:15 until about 2:20. So ask me anything. I'll also be at Circuit City signing iPhone 6s, only iPhone 6s. And you can also find me guest hosting. Oh, I'm guest hosting Jeopardy next week. So we'll score some CineSmack mentions there as well. So go CineSmack. Yay, CineSmack.
All right. Well, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. We would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. It helps us reach new listeners. If you like us, tell your friends. If you hate us, tell your enemies. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search CineSmack. For May, there's only one man that can take on Nick Cage, and that's Nick Cage. It's a cage versus cage match. Conair will try to land on the rock, and only one cage will survive. Cage. I wanted to see how many times I could put Cage in that. For Kyle, Gabe, Tom, Andrew, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
Ladies and gentlemen, hunters and point guards, welcome to the main event. Tonight's a bottle of 290 sports icons as the program takes some bullshit. In this corner from 1994, directed by the guy that directed it, and starring the people in it. Blue Chips! And in this corner, Kick Him From Their Own 20, directed by blah blah blah, written by blah blah blah. Fine, bro, blah 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 blah. It's the program.
Guys, you fought valiantly. You know, we can't win them all. We can't win them all. You hold your head up high. That was a good show. You guys should be really proud. But let's face it, we suck.
Yeah. All I need to know is how to sign a pro podcasting contract. There's no injury that can put me out of this game.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.
Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest. There's something so thrilling about playing Chumba Casino. Maybe it's the simple reminder that with a little luck, anything is possible. ChumbaCasino.com has hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new game releases each week. Play for free anytime, anywhere for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.